Good morning, everyone, and welcome to On the Wrong Lead presents Saratoga Daily. I am Mark, and looking at a little bit of Saratoga Thursday action. Wanted to get another one of these up. I had a couple people on Discord poking me, saying, "Hey, you got to keep these up. You can't be stopping them." So, I want to take a look at the earlier part of the Saratoga Thursday card. Scratches just came out. I actually waited to do this video until they did, so that I could make sure that a couple of opinions I had in here stayed in. I'm playing around with this 3-4-5 sequence, and I think it's a super slammable sequence. And how I'm going to kind of and how I look for these sequences are, I like when I have opinions and I have things I chase and things I look for in races, and I can link a couple of those races together, and that's sort of what I did here. So first off, what happened yesterday? Didn't see any crazy great races yesterday. I think it was one of the weaker cards of the entire Saratoga meet. We saw dirt speed be extremely good. I don't know if that's specifically due to lower class horses or if it's due to just the track being very, very speed favoring. It tends to be Saratoga very much favors early speed the day after we got some rain, and on Tuesday we did get a bit of rain in the evening, so I think it may have just been some water in the track, and also it seemed to be like turf speed was quite good. Weren't seeing horses coming from out of the clouds, a lot of lower level horses, and a lot of times you're a lower level horse because you don't like to pass other horses, so that could be part of that as well, but it seemed like both turf and dirt speed were quite good. So we're going to start off here in the third race. This is an optional claiming 62, non-winners of 2. I think the X is going to be what is it? There's a bunch of statements in here of the non-winners of 2 time. So you're going to see a lot of these who've won 2, but they're a lot of times things like starter allowances or their maidens, twice other than maiden claiming starter or state bred allowance. So there's a lot of opt-outs there. So this is actually a fairly decent race, some fairly decent horses in here. The morning line favorite was going to be the 9 and scratched out. I have the horse scratched out on my sheet, so you're not going to see it here. And it was a horse that I very much did not like, and I love to fade, and that's why I really started here. But the horse I'm going to kind of zero in on is this 5 horse, Xanthique. And Xanthique, let me just double check. Yeah, I just want to say Xanthique is sort of a super interesting horse. First off, I'm a huge Tom Morley fan, and he's winless on the meet, but he's had 5 horses of his 10 starters in the money. So it's not like his horses have been running terrible. They just haven't been quite getting to the line first. Tom is a guy who, small trainer, does really well by his horses, and just somebody that I very much like. Xanthique here is getting a touch of cutback in distance, and he's shown, it's that not going to be the forwardly placed horse in here. If I flop over here to the optics, I would imagine that somebody like the 9 or the 2 are going to be, well, of course the 9 is out, so the 2 here is going to be sort of your more forwardly placed horse, but I think this 5 sort of inherits a nice stalking trip, and the real reason that I landed here, and again, this is, one of those sort of Saratoga-y angles. If you look down here at jockey trainer connections, when Tom Morley goes to JJ Castellano at Saratoga, it's normally because he has a very live horse. And I really like, positive ROI angles here, both with the 2 of them in 2019 and 2020. And, obviously he only, put JJ up 3 times on the meet last year, and 2 of those were for winners. And one of them was a real nice winner on a day that I was sitting in a box with 643 with Tommy. So that was, remember that one quite well. But it tends to be when Tom Morley goes to JJ at Saratoga, he's got a real live horse. JJ was on this horse last out down at Belmont, where it won at a mile. You're getting here a little bit of, a little bit of a shortening back to 5.5. Actually, it's a lot of short, but Saratoga is weird because of the layout that you don't have those options for like a 7 furlong turf sprint. I'm I think JJ can keep this one a little bit close, and I think he was going to kind of have that first run style. We're a little light Buyer's speed figs wise, but if you're an optics person, this horse fits very, very nicely here. Doesn't need a lot of move forward, and we're talking about a horse that's 8-1 on the morning line. I'll throw my ticket up here. I'm using the 5 as a lone A here, and what I'm trying to do is a little bit of, maybe I don't know if it's game theory or a little bit of leveraging things up. The 4, the 7, and the 8 are the other horses, and I really couldn't draw a line between them. You have a Christophe Clement with Rosario. This time in the meet, I actually start fading Christophe Clement slightly, and he'll still win some races, but he always brings his best of his barn the first couple weeks. He's been hitting at an absurd clip. Him and Rosario were like 45% the first 2 weeks or something absurd. They're down to 32%. That'll come off, and what you often see is Clement will end the meet at 15-16% trainer, all of those wins coming in the first 2 weeks, and maybe he'll have 1 or 2 smattered in the remaining 4 weeks. It's a very common thing to have Clement see those types of patterns. Other horses that I was interested in here, Johnny Velasquez up on the Bill Mott horse. Obviously, those are good connections all the way around. Horse has figs that should be competitive in here, and we'll get a similar sort of pace setup to the 5. And the other horse that I was interested in a little bit is the Ian Wilkes, the 8 originator. Now, there were a bunch of scratches in here, so these morning lines you're seeing, I would imagine them all to get cut in half, but I still think I really want to leverage up. Turf War arguably is your most likely winner, but I feel like that morning line has a lot to do with connections. The Rosario Clement, I think the horse is going to take a ton of money. It's going to be massively overbet. It's a horse out of the Chad Brown barn as well. Don't necessarily love those. And second off the layoff is not normally where Clement does his best work. So maybe 5.5 is this one's distance. Horse is 0 for 4 at it though. I almost think this one wants to go a little bit further. Maybe it wants that 1-turn mile down at Belmont. Maybe that's the logical distance, but anyways, I think it's a favorite that you can get around, and I'm going to try to do so predominantly with this 5, but I'm going to have a little bit of a C hedge on this ticket. Hopping into the 4th race, again, one where I had some, and I apologize, I keep looking over to my left. I have my sheet over here with my notes on it. I wanted 2 in this field. I think this 2, Blood Moon, who ended up sort of being the works horse. I know a lot of people are talking about this one being potentially lone speed. I expect this horse to take a ton of money. Saez gets up. Everybody thinks of Saez as being a speed jock, somebody who's a real hustle bug. This horse is 1 for 9 lifetime. If you look at all these running lines, shows a ton of speed, well, I guess I should say this running line here. Shows a ton of speed, stops. Shows a ton of speed, stops. They've tried a bunch of different distances. The pedigree on the top says that this one should be able to get classic distances, but sort of has that sprintier pedigree on the bottom end, and I feel that this one, they're trying it a little too long. I don't think there's a ton of class relief here. Yeah, Gargan and Saez have been great together, but Saez has been, on this horse for 2 losses. Obviously, they think this one's talented. They paid a lot of money for it. I just don't. I think this horse gets overbet again, and I think the horse once again is going to go and stop unless this track is extremely speed favoring. But it tends to be 2 turns. The route distances on the dirt. We have not been seeing that speed carry as well as we have at speed at the shorter distances. So the 2 horses I want in here are the number 4 for first rate for Safi Joseph. This is a horse that if you watch that last race, the winner came right up the rail, and this horse got swung 5 wide and kept digging in and kept trying the entire length of the stretch. I know a lot's been made of the drug busts and that Safi was apparently under watch, but his win rate has not gone down. He has not been like some of the other trainers that have gotten really beaten up given all the drug busts, and we haven't seen his percentages fall off a cliff. He does have a win at Saratoga, and 2 of his 4 horses have hit his 4 starters have hit the board. I think this one makes a lot of sense in here. And the other horse that I wanted was this 6, this Linda Rice horse, Grit and Glory. Linda and Lascano obviously are known connections at Saratoga. This horse is taking a big step up in class from winning claiming 14 non-winners of 3 lifetime last out. But at this distance at Saratoga, this is a step forward in class, but it wouldn't surprise me to see this one take another step forward. If you look at some of the back figures here with some of the previous trainers, has back class that makes sense here, and some of this back class, this Gulfstream race, or I don't know if you can see, yeah, you can see it over there, good. The Saratoga race that the horse was second with T-Gaff up at this level back in August of last year, those races are very competitive in here. Morning Line has this one as the favorite. I think too many people are going to look at the speed on the 2, and I would have a feeling the 2 goes off favorite. But I want just a 4-6 here in my pick 3. And in the last leg, this is another type of race that I love to play into. 5.5 furlong turf sprint, which aren't my favorite things, but what I like here is this is a big field of horses. We end up having 12 that draw in here. I guess there's a couple scratches, so at 10, I think at 10 or 9 or 10 in here. It's a very big field, and I love to go into these big fields and pick out a couple of horses that really jumped off the page at me. This is a maiden 40, so it's at 5.5. I tend to throw this two post out, and then I'm looking for class droppers. The 2 class droppers that are in this race are the 3 Robin Sparkles for Bruce Brown. Jose Ortiz stays there, and he probably arguably had other choices in here if he'd wanted to go someplace else. Horse showed a ton of speed first out and then stopped. I love betting back horse, and that was on the dirt though. This is on the turf, but the turf pedigree is there, elusive quality of the hair dam on the bottom end. So I love finding horses that show speed first time out and then fade. And you see this horse put up a terrible figure. People will look and see that figure and they will toss that horse. Horses tend to, on their second start, carry that speed a little better. Yes, I realize Bruce Brown is a second, as a 0 for 18 in the past year with maiden second timers. I think this one here is probably more live than that statistic says, and I won't tip my hat too much here, but this is I am affiliated with the breeder of this horse, and we like this horse quite a lot. My Sparkly was not one of the horses that I was a part of, but I do know the connections, and they did speak very highly of this horse. The other one in here that I really liked was the 11 Bonus Baby. Jeremiah had a slow start to the meet. He has gotten, I think all 3 of his wins have come in the past 2 or 3 days. So his barn has gotten much better. And again, this is one of the ones taking these class plummets. A lot of times what happens with these races is these horses get more involved early and therefore they stay on better late. Jeremiah's known more as a sprint trainer, so this sort of fits him. I realize the turf pedigree isn't here quite as much as on some of the other horses in this race, but I do sort of, I don't want to say downplay turf pedigree in sprints, but I find that in sprint races the turf pedigree is less important. Outside Drawn should give Junior a bunch of choices here, and Jeremiah is very, very good at taking these horses. He's very good second off, and he's also good with these horses that are dropping out of maiden special weight company into maiden claiming company. So this one is super interesting to me. And my issues here with the rest of the horses is everybody's sort of been beaten around at these levels, and I kind of want the new face. This 12 here, who looks to be the favorite, probably getting the favorite just off the Clement factor. Is a horse that last 2 were both at this level, a little shorter. I don't know if a little shorter necessarily helps. Off the last, maybe the cutback helps here, the extra half furlong, but I think this one is not going to get nearly as loose as he did last time out. I think there's a lot more pace pressure in this race, and I think this was more likely to come apart. You have horses like the 9, who is, an 0 for 9, has been banging around at these levels and even cheaper for quite a while. I don't think turf perks this one up. If you look at the 8, yeah, it's Rosario for Charlie Barker, might take a bunch of money, but again, he is not known as a turf trainer, and his horses have not run at all at the Saratoga meet yet. And some of these other ones in here, if we're looking through, again, these similar sort of things, horses that are have been either beating around at these levels and not really doing much, horses where they're trying things, they're experimenting. I'll take a horse with, the biggest drop in racing, getting that class drop over horses that have been beating around at these levels and just sort of not doing a lot. And at least that's my logic. So ticket structure looks like this. Using that 5, it would be a $10. This is a $100 base bet structure. So a $10 through the 5 with the 4-6 and the 3-11, and then doing a $5 pick 3 with the 4-7-8 over the 4-6 over the 3-11. I like these leveraged up plays. I think this is the one that on a dollar, this could very easily pay $100. So if I'm right with that 5, it could be a $100 investment to get a $1,000 return. 10x, I'm really cool with that. And I think even if the if the favorite wins in the third race, I still think this pays 50 or 60 bucks, and so we could have a $100 investment total where I get back $300. I'm fine with that kind of math. So yeah, I'll try to put up a few more of these. If you like and subscribe, it means quite a lot to us. We do this for fun and trying to get out some good plays and give some people some sequences to attack at Saratoga. And yeah, until next time, good luck at the races.